The chamber was enormous, built to hold representatives from 43 different alien species. Captain Junho Kim stood in the center, alone, under the bright lights. His uniform was crisp and clean, but he could feel sweat forming on his back. Around him, in seats that rose up like a stadium, sat the members of the Galactic Council. Some looked like insects, others resembled rocks with eyes. A few could pass for human if you squinted, but most were clearly alien. Junho had been standing here for 2 hours while they debated. He couldn't understand most of what they said. The translator in his ear only caught about half of it, and the rest was just strange noises. But he understood enough. Earth was in trouble. The overseer, a tall creature named Thalarix with too many arms and skin like purple leather, finally stood up. The room went silent. Junho's heart started beating faster. This was it. The council has reached a decision, Thalarix said. His voice came out like grinding rocks. Humanity has violated the expansion protocols. You established mining colonies in disputed zones. You refused to surrender your weapons research. You have shown complete disregard for council authority. Junho wanted to argue. The zones weren't really disputed. Earth's colonies had been there first. The weapons research was defensive, nothing more. But he kept his mouth shut. He'd been warned not to interrupt. Therefore, Thalarix continued, the Galactic Council votes to expel Earth from membership. All trade agreements are void immediately. Humanity is forbidden from expanding beyond your current 17 colony worlds. You have 60 days to remove all vessels from Council-protected space. This decision is final. The chamber erupted in sounds. Some species made clicking noises. Others hummed or buzzed. Junho guessed they were pleased with themselves. They'd put the upstart humans in their place. But Junho didn't feel defeated. He felt something else. Relief, maybe. Or freedom. He touched the communication device on his wrist and sent a short message back to Earth. Just 7 words. They wanted us gone. We're free. Then he turned to where Ambassador Hana Choi was sitting in the observation section. She was already standing, gathering her files and data tablets. Her face showed no emotion. She'd been a diplomat for 20 years, and she knew how to hide what she felt. As Junho walked toward the exit, Hana joined him. The other council members watched them go. Some looked smug. Others seemed uncertain. The Valoran representative, a species that controlled most of the trade routes, actually looked worried. At the doorway, Hana stopped and turned back to face the council. Junho paused beside her. You believe you've punished us, Hana said clearly, her voice carried across the huge chamber. You think you've put Earth in its place, but you've made a terrible mistake. You didn't banish us. You freed us from your rules, your bureaucracy, your control. We came to you 12 years ago, hoping to join something greater. Instead, we found a club that doesn't want us. Fine. We'll build our own future. And when you realize what you've lost, don't come asking us to come back. She turned and walked out. Junho followed her, keeping his back straight and his head high. Behind them, the council chamber erupted in angry sounds. Outside the chamber, in the corridor of the diplomatic station, Junho finally let himself smile. That was one hell of a speech, he said. Hana's serious expression broke into a grin. I've been wanting to say something like that for 10 years. These people treated us like children. They never intended to accept us as equals. So what happens now? Junho asked. Now we go home and show them what humanity can really do. The trip back to Earth took 3 days using the Council's jump gates. Junho spent most of it in his cabin, writing reports and making calls. By the time their ship entered Earth's orbit, everyone back home already knew what happened. President Daehyun Park was waiting for them at the landing facility. He was a tall man with gray hair and a face that always looked tired. He'd been president for 6 years, and they'd been 6 hard years. Dealing with the council hadn't been easy. "I've called an emergency meeting," Daehyun said as soon as Hana and Junho stepped off the ship. "Everyone important is already there. We have decisions to make." The meeting took place in the United Earth Government Building in Geneva. The room was full of military officers, scientists, colonial governors, and political leaders. Admiral Yuna Song was there, commander of Earth's colonial fleet. Dr. Taeyang Shin sat near the front, director of the Advanced Research Division. Governor Minji Kang had come all the way from the colony world, New Daejeon. Daehyun didn't waste time. "The council has expelled us. They've given us 60 days to withdraw from their space. They've canceled our trade agreements. They think this will cripple us. I'm here to tell you it won't. We've been preparing for this possibility for 3 years." Admiral Yuna stood up. She was a short woman with sharp eyes and a reputation for being brilliant. "We have contingency plans," she said. "Project Horizon. We've been building it in secret. 40 space stations, each capable of supporting 3 million people. They're 80% complete. We can finish them in 6 weeks." Dr. Taeyang went next. He was young for his position. Only 35. But he was possibly the smartest person on Earth. "We've reverse-engineered the FTL drive system. Our version is faster and more efficient than what the Council sells us. We don't need their technology anymore. We can build everything ourselves." Around the room, people started talking excitedly. This wasn't defeat. This was opportunity. Daehyun held up his hand for silence. "We need a vote. Do we accept the Council's banishment and withdraw quietly? Or do we reject their authority completely and build our own civilization on our own terms?" The vote was unanimous. Every single person in the room chose independence. Hana felt something she hadn't felt in years. Hope. Real hope. "They think they're getting rid of a problem," she said quietly to Junho. "They have no idea what's coming." Junho nodded. "They wanted us gone. We're about to show them what that really means." Outside the building, news drones flew through the air, broadcasting the decision to the entire planet. Within hours, the word spread to all 17 colonies. The reaction was the same everywhere. Humans weren't scared. They were excited. They were ready. The Galactic Council had made their choice. Now humanity would make theirs. And the galaxy would never be the same. 3 weeks had passed since the Council's verdict. The galaxy expected Earth to pack up and disappear quietly. Instead, humanity was doing the exact opposite. Captain Woojin Lee floated in zero gravity near the construction site of Station Horizon 1-2. Through the window of his shuttle, he could see thousands of workers in spacesuits crawling over the massive structure like ants on a hill. Welding torches created bright flashes of light. Transport ships came and went constantly, bringing materials and equipment. "Status report," Woojin said into his radio. "Section A is 92% complete," came the response from the construction chief. "Section B is at 87%. "We're ahead of schedule, Captain." Woojin smiled. Ahead of schedule. Those were good words to hear. Station Horizon 1-2 was just one of 40 stations being built simultaneously across human space. Each one was huge, designed to be completely self-sufficient. They would be homes, factories, and military bases all in one. The Council thought cutting off trade would hurt humanity. They didn't understand that humans had been preparing for this. Every station, every ship, every colony was being upgraded with Earth-designed technology. No more depending on alien systems. No more asking permission to expand or innovate. Down on the colony world of New Daejeon, Governor Minji Kang was facing her own challenges. New Daejeon was one of the furthest human colonies, right on the edge of Council space. Many people worried the Council might try to take it by force. Minji stood in the colony's command center, looking at displays that showed the entire planet. "How are the shield generators?" she asked her chief engineer. Installation complete on all major cities, the engineer replied. We've also started building orbital defense platforms. 3 are already operational. Minji nodded. New Daejeon had 20 million people. She was responsible for all of them. If the council wanted to push humanity around, they'd find it much harder than they expected. Her communication console beeped. It was her sister colony, New Busan, calling. Governor Kang, we've finished our part of the supply network. We can start shipping food and materials to you next week. Excellent, Minji said. Send the shipment schedules to my office. She closed the connection and allowed herself a small smile. The human colonies weren't competing with each other. They were working together. That gave them strength the council couldn't match. In a secret research facility on Europa, one of Jupiter's moons, Dr. Hyun Baek was about to change everything. He stood in front of a large machine that hummed with energy. Around him, his team of scientists watched nervously. Initiating test sequence, Hyun said calmly. He pressed several buttons on the control panel. The machine began to glow. The humming sound grew louder. Then, suddenly, a point of light appeared in the air. It expanded into a swirling portal of blue energy. It's stable, one of the scientists shouted. The readings are perfect. Hyun felt his heart racing, but he kept his face calm. They'd done it. They'd created a working FTL jump without using any council technology. This drive was completely human-made, based on principles they'd figured out themselves. Run a diagnostic, Hyun ordered. I want to make sure everything is functioning correctly before we report this. The tests took 6 hours. When they were finished, Hyun sent a coded message to Dr. Taeyang Shin on Earth. The message was short. Project Gateway is successful. We can travel anywhere without their gates. This was huge. The Council controlled the galaxy through their jump gate network. They charged fees for every use. They monitored every ship that passed through. They could shut down the gates to punish anyone who disobeyed them. But now humanity had an alternative. A better alternative. Human ships could go anywhere, anytime, without asking permission or paying fees. 2 days later, the Velaran Empire made its move. A fleet of 30 warships appeared at the edge of human space. They sent a message demanding that Earth comply with the Council's orders immediately. Admiral Yuna Song received the message in her office on Earth. She read it once, then deleted it. Instead of responding to the Valorans, she sent orders to Captain Sung-ho Nam, who commanded the newly formed Earth Defense Fleet. Sung-ho received his orders and smiled. Finally, some action. He'd been training his crews for months, waiting for this moment. His fleet consisted of 25 ships, smaller than the Velaran force. But these ships were different from anything the Velarans had seen before. They were built using human military doctrine, which emphasized speed, firepower, and tactics over size and intimidation. When the Velaran fleet arrived at the designated meeting point, they found Sung-ho's ships waiting in a defensive formation. The human vessels looked sleek and dangerous, painted dark gray with sharp angles. The Velaran commander opened a communication channel. His face appeared on Sung-ho's screen. He looked like a cross between a lizard and a bird, with scales and feathers mixed together. You are in violation of Council decree, the Valoran said. You must withdraw your ships immediately and begin dismantling your colonies. Sung-ho leaned back in his command chair. No, he said simply. The Valoran commander seemed surprised. You refuse? Do you understand the consequences? We have superior numbers. Our weapons are more advanced. You cannot win this confrontation. Maybe, Sung-ho said, but you're not here to fight. You're here to intimidate. There's a difference. If you were really going to attack, you wouldn't be talking to me. You'd be shooting. The Valoran's face showed confusion. This wasn't how humans were supposed to act. They were supposed to be scared and obedient. Our sensors show your ships have no council safety limiters, the Valoran said, changing tactics. Your weapons systems exceed permitted power levels. This is illegal. Illegal according to whose laws? Sungho asked. We're not council members anymore. Remember? You expelled us. That means we don't have to follow your rules. The standoff continued for 3 hours. Neither side fired a shot. Finally, the Valoran fleet turned around and left. They reported back to the council that humanity was not cooperating and that forcing compliance would require actual military action, not just threats. The council members argued for days about what to do. Some wanted to teach humanity a lesson. Others worried about the cost. A few quietly wondered if they'd made a mistake. While the council argued, humanity kept building. More stations, more ships, more colonies in unclaimed space beyond council jurisdiction. On Earth, a woman named Jisoo Han worked in a small office with no windows. She was the director of Earth intelligence. Though very few people knew that. Her job was gathering information and running covert operations. Jisoo had agents across the galaxy. Some worked on alien worlds. Others operated on trading stations and diplomatic posts. They sent her constant reports about what was happening in council space. The reports were interesting. 3 minor species had contacted Earth secretly, asking about trade opportunities. They were tired of council regulations and high fees. They wanted alternatives. Jisoo compiled all this information and sent it to President Dae-hyun Park. Her message included a simple recommendation. The council is weaker than it appears. Many species are unhappy. We should reach out to them. Dae-hyun read the report and smiled. The council thought they'd isolated Earth. Instead, they'd created an opportunity. Other species were watching to see what humanity would do next. And humanity was doing something remarkable. They were thriving. Governor Minji sent a message from New Daejeon to Earth. Our population just increased by 2 million. People from other colonies want to move here. They believe in what we're building. Asked. A. Captain Woojin reported that all 40 Horizon stations would be complete ahead of schedule. Dr. Hyun's FTL drive was being installed on new ships as fast as they could build them. The council had banished Earth, expecting them to fade away. Instead, humanity was becoming stronger, more independent, and more confident every single day. And the galaxy was starting to notice. 6 months had passed since the banishment. The galaxy looked different now, though many species hadn't realized it yet. Earth's 17 colonies had grown to 29. The new ones were all in unclaimed space, far from council jurisdiction. They were rough frontier worlds. But humans had always been good at making difficult places livable. Each new colony meant more resources, more people, and more independence from the old galactic order. Admiral Yuna Song stood on the bridge of her flagship, the Soul. Through the main window, she could see her fleet arranged in perfect formation. 40 ships, all built in the last 6 months. The Free Fleet, people were calling it now. Free from council rules, free from limitations, just free. Admiral, we're receiving a transmission from the Drexian Collective, her communications officer said. Yuna straightened in her chair. The Drexians were interesting. They'd been part of the council 20 years ago but left after constant disrespect from the major powers. They'd survived alone since then. Barely. Put them through. The screen showed a Drexian representative. The Drexians looked somewhat like humans, but with gray skin and large black eyes. This one introduced herself as Speaker Nalith. Admiral Song. We've been watching humanity's progress with great interest, Nalith said. We see in you something familiar. The council cast you out, yet you prosper. We understand this experience well. What can Earth do for the Drexian Collective? Yuna asked carefully. We believe we can help each other. We have resources your people need. Rare minerals, biological materials. You have technology and military strength we lack. Perhaps we could discuss trade arrangements. Yuna smiled. I think that can be arranged. I'll connect you with our commerce department. But, Speaker Nalith, I think we could offer each other something more than just trade. We could offer friendship. The conversation lasted 2 hours. By the end, both sides had agreed to begin formal negotiations. It was Earth's first major alliance since the banishment. On the frontier world of New Busan, Commander Unji Cha was making history in a different way. Her colony was the furthest human settlement, and it had just made first contact with a species nobody in the galaxy had heard of before. They called themselves the Korath. They were small, barely 4 feet tall, covered in fur, with large ears and quick movements. They'd been hiding from the Council for centuries, afraid of being absorbed or enslaved. Yunji sat across from the Korath leader in a simple meeting room. The Korath seemed nervous, constantly looking around as if expecting danger. We mean you no harm, Unji said gently. We're not part of the Galactic Council. Actually, they kicked us out. The Korath leader's ears perked up. Truly? The Council expelled you? Yes. They didn't like that we wanted to be independent and make our own choices. This is surprising. We thought the Council was all-powerful. Yunji laughed. They want everyone to think that. But they're not. They're just old and set in their ways. There's room in this galaxy for people who want something different. The Korath and New Busan signed a mutual defense pact that day. It was small, but it mattered. It showed that humanity wasn't alone in wanting alternatives to the Council's control. Back on Earth, President Dae-hyun Park addressed the United Earth government. The chamber was full, and everyone was excited. 6 months ago, the Council thought they were punishing us, Dae-hyun said. They thought cutting us off would make us weak and desperate. Instead, look at what we've built. 12 new colonies. A fleet that rivals any council member. Alliance with the Drexians. Friendship with the Korath. We're not victims of their banishment. We're beneficiaries of their mistake. The room erupted in applause. But Dae-hyun raised his hand for silence. However, we must not become arrogant. The Council still has power. They still have resources. And they're starting to realize that we're becoming a real alternative to their authority. Some species are watching us, wondering if they should leave the Council too. This makes us dangerous in their eyes. In a secret laboratory beneath the surface of Mars, Dr. Taeyang Shin was working on something extraordinary. He stood in front of a massive ring-shaped structure, nearly 100 meters across. This is incredible, said Dr. Soo-young Park, a xenoarchaeologist who'd been studying ancient alien ruins. You've actually done it. Almost, Taeyang said. We've cracked the basic science behind the ancient jump gates, the ones the Council claims can't be reproduced. They've been lying for centuries, keeping this technology for themselves. The gate in front of them began to glow. Energy crackled across its surface. Then, suddenly, a stable portal formed in the center of the ring. It works, Taeyang whispered. We can build our own gate network. We don't need their infrastructure at all. This was revolutionary. The Council's power came partly from controlling the gate network that connected different parts of the galaxy. They charged fees for using it. They monitored all traffic. They could shut gates down to punish disobedient species. If humanity could build their own gates, they'd be truly independent. More than that, they could offer gate access to other species, breaking the Council's monopoly. Soo-young was smiling widely. Do you know what this means? We're not just surviving anymore. We're becoming a real power. Send the data to Admiral Yuna and President Dae-hyun, Taeyang said. They need to know what we've achieved. In the Valoran Empire's capital, inside the Council's main headquarters, panic was starting to set in. Overseer Thalarix sat in his office, reading reports that made him increasingly worried. Humanity had not collapsed. They had not begged to be readmitted. Instead, they were thriving. Worse, They were attracting allies. 3 minor council members had quietly approached Earth about potential cooperation. Several fringe species were openly talking about leaving the council to join what they called the human alternative. Trade between council space and human space was happening despite the official ban. Black market merchants found it profitable to work with Earth. Human goods were often cheaper and better quality than council-produced items. The Valoran Empire's trade monopolies were being challenged for the first time in 500 years. Their profits were declining. Other major council powers were experiencing similar problems. Thalarix called an emergency council session. When the representatives gathered, he addressed them bluntly. "We made a mistake," he said. "Expelling humanity was supposed to solve a problem. Instead, we created a competitor. Earth is building an alternative power structure. If we don't act, the Council's authority will crumble." "What do you propose?" asked the Keldorian representative, a floating jellyfish-like creature. "We need to reconsider our position with Earth. Perhaps offer them a path back to membership." "The Ophanos?" "Absolutely not," shouted the Valoran ambassador. "That would show weakness. We cannot back down." The council argued for hours, accomplishing nothing. They were trapped by their own pride and bureaucracy. Meanwhile, Commodore Junho Kim was preparing for humanity's most ambitious mission yet. He'd been promoted after his success defending human space. Now he commanded a small exploration fleet being sent beyond the galactic arm, into regions the Council had always declared off-limits. "Why do they prohibit exploration in these sectors?" Junho asked Admiral Yuna during their final briefing. "They claim it's dangerous," Yuna replied. "But we think they're hiding something. Resources, maybe. Or ancient technology. We need to know what's out there." Junho's fleet consisted of 5 ships, with the newest FTL drives and best sensors Earth could build. They would be gone for months, exploring the unknown. As his ships prepared to depart, Junho received a message from Ambassador Hana Choi. It was simple, but meaningful. "Show them what human curiosity can accomplish. Make us proud. Number 3. Number 3. Junho smiled and gave the order to launch. His ships accelerated smoothly and then vanished in flashes of light, jumping into the unknown. Back in Geneva, Hana met with representatives from the Drexian Collective and the Korath Federation. They were discussing something bigger than trade deals. They were talking about forming a real alliance, a new power block in the galaxy. "We call it the Independent Systems Alliance," Hana explained. "Any species that wants true independence, that rejects the Council's hierarchies and control. We work together as equals." The Drexian speaker Nalith nodded enthusiastically. "This is what the galaxy needs. The Council has ruled for too long, caring only for their own power." Within a week, the Independent Systems Alliance was formally established. Earth, the Drexian Collective, and the Korath Federation were founding members. A 4th species, the Lyranese Union, joined shortly after. The galaxy was changing. The Council's monopoly on power was cracking. And humanity, the species they'd tried to banish into obscurity, was at the center of it all. 1 year had passed since Earth's banishment. The galaxy had learned to live with 2 competing powers now. The old Galactic Council still controlled most of the known space, but the Independent Systems Alliance was growing stronger every month. Ambassador Hana Choi walked through the halls of Unity Station, the new headquarters of the Alliance. It was smaller than the Council's massive diplomatic complex, but it felt more honest somehow. Species here treated each other as equals, not according to some ancient hierarchy. She was meeting with representatives from 6 different species today. 2 of them were former council members who'd officially left to join the Alliance. That had caused quite a stir in council space. "The Council is losing its grip," Hana said to her assistant as they walked. "Fear kept many species loyal. But we've shown there's an alternative. You don't have to bow to the old powers to survive." On Earth, Director Nari Kwan was managing a different kind of success. Her department handled civilian integration. welcoming aliens who wanted to live in Alliance space. Thousands of refugees had arrived in the past 6 months. Some were fleeing persecution in Council space. Others were dissidents who disagreed with their governments. A few were just curious about humanity and wanted to see these upstart humans for themselves. Nari stood in the immigration center at New Sol Colony, watching as a group of Drexian families arrived. They looked nervous, but hopeful. "Welcome to New Sol," Nari said warmly. "We've prepared housing for your families. You'll find our colony very different from Council worlds. Here, everyone has equal opportunities, regardless of species." The Drexian children ran around excitedly, their parents trying to keep them calm. Nari smiled. This was what the Alliance meant. Not human domination, but actual cooperation. Real diversity. Far beyond the galactic rim, Commodore Junho Kim was about to make a discovery that would change everything. His exploration fleet had been traveling for 8 months, mapping regions no one had visited in millennia. They'd found abandoned space stations, dead worlds, and evidence of ancient civilizations. But nothing had prepared them for what they found in the Kepler Abyss sector. "Sir, sensors are picking up something massive," reported Lieutenant Minho, the sensor officer. "It's huge, artificial, and it's old. Really old." Junho moved to the sensor station. The readings showed a structure the size of a small moon. Its design was like nothing he'd seen before, geometric and perfect in a way that seemed impossible. "That's precursor architecture," said Dr. Su-Young Park, who'd joined the expedition as their xenoarchaeology expert. She stared at the readings with wide eyes. "The precursors built the original jump gate network millions of years ago. Then they vanished. Nobody knows why." "Take us closer," Junho ordered. Carefully. As they approached, the structure became clearer. It was a massive facility, built into a small planetary body. Lights still glowed in some sections, meaning power still flowed after all these centuries. "There's an entrance," Su-Young said. "And I'm picking up active systems inside. This place is still functioning." "See." They sent a small team to investigate, with Junho and Su-Young leading. Inside, they found technology beyond anything the current galaxy possessed. Vast chambers filled with machines, still humming with energy. Computer systems that responded to their presence. Su-Young worked on accessing the facility's data. She was brilliant with ancient languages and had studied precursor artifacts her whole career. After hours of work, she managed to interface with the main system. What she found made her blood run cold. "Junho, you need to see this," she called. The precursor computers showed star maps, trajectory calculations, and warnings written in multiple ancient languages. Su-Young's translation appeared on her tablet. "Warning to future civilizations. We departed this galaxy to escape the harvesters. They sleep in the void beyond the rim. They wake periodically to cleanse galaxies of complex life. They come in cycles measured in millions of years. Our calculations show the next awakening approaches. We cannot stop them. We can only flee. If you read this, prepare or perish." Junho felt sick. "Are you saying there's something out there that destroyed the precursors? And it's coming back? Not just something. An entire fleet, automated, ancient, designed to wipe out civilizations." Su-Young pulled up more data. "According to these calculations, the harvesters will reach this galaxy in approximately 18 months. We need to warn everyone," Junho said immediately. "The Council, the Alliance, everyone." Back in Alliance and Council space, sensors began detecting the same thing. A massive gravitational anomaly was approaching from beyond the galactic rim. Scientists across the galaxy started reporting the readings, trying to understand what they meant. The Council's Science Division sent urgent reports to Overseer Thalarix. The readings didn't make sense, according to known physics. Whatever was coming was enormous and moving faster than anything natural could move. Thalarix called an emergency council session. This time, Every species sent their highest representatives. Something big was happening, and everyone was scared. "We're detecting massive energy signatures," the Council's chief scientist explained. "The anomaly appears to be a fleet of some kind. Thousands of vessels, each the size of a city. They're on course for Council space." "Who are they?" demanded the Valoran ambassador. "Can we communicate with them?" "We've tried." No response. "But we've analyzed the technology signatures. They match precursor designs. These are machines left behind by the civilization that built the original jump gates." The council chamber erupted in panicked sounds. The precursors were legendary. Their technology was far beyond anything modern species could build. If these were precursor war machines, no one stood a chance. "We need to organize a defense," Thalaric said, trying to maintain calm. "Every council member must contribute ships and resources." But organizing the council was like herding cats. Species argued about who should command the fleet. They debated about resource allocation. They formed committees to study the problem. Nothing actually got done. Meanwhile, Commodore Junho's message reached Earth. President Dae-Hyun Park immediately called an emergency meeting with Admiral Yuna Song and the Alliance leadership. "The precursor facility data is clear," Dae-Hyun said. "These harvesters are designed to destroy advanced civilizations. They've done it before. They'll do it again, unless we stop them." "Can we stop them?" asked Speaker Nalith of the Drexians. "If the precursors couldn't defeat them, what chance do we have?" Dr. Taeyang Shin, who'd been studying the data Junho sent, spoke up. "The precursors didn't try to fight. They fled. Maybe that was their mistake. These machines are old. Their programming is ancient. There might be weaknesses we can exploit. We need time to research this," said Dr. Soo-young via communication link from Junho's ship. "The facility here has information about the harvesters, their capabilities, their tactics. If I can decode it all, we might find a way to stop them." Admiral Yuna made a decision. "We mobilize the Free Fleet immediately. Whatever these machines are, we're not running away." Note: President Dae-Hyun agreed. "Activate the Alliance Emergency Protocol. Every member species contributes what they can, and someone needs to inform the Council." Ambassador Hana took on that task. She sent a message to Overseer Thalaric. Brief and direct. "We know about the harvesters. The Alliance is preparing to defend the galaxy. We invite Council cooperation. Put aside politics. This threatens all of us." Thalaric read the message and felt something he rarely experienced: humility. The species they'd banished was offering to help them. More than that, humanity was already taking action while the Council was still arguing about procedures. He sent a reply. "We accept your offer. How can we coordinate?" For the first time in galactic history, the Council and the Alliance began working together. Ships from both groups started gathering at strategic points. Scientists shared data. Military commanders discussed tactics. But everyone knew the truth. They were unprepared. The harvesters were coming, and nobody knew if they could be stopped. In his office on Earth, Dae-Hyun looked at the star maps, showing the approaching fleet. Thousands of enemy vessels, each with technology beyond current understanding. Any one of them could probably destroy a planet. "We were banished from the galaxy," he said quietly to himself. "Now we're trying to save it." There's irony in that. Admiral Yuna entered his office. "All Free Fleet vessels are mobilized. The Drexians and Korath have sent their ships too. We'll have a combined force of 200 vessels within the week. All. Vicentis Mar. Promenaded. Vicentis promenaded. 1870. The Council has about 500 ships gathering," Dae-Hyun said. "Is it enough?" "The harvester fleet numbers in the thousands. So no, it's not enough. But it's what we have. And humans have never been good at accepting defeat." Yuna smiled grimly. "Then, We'll show these ancient machines what humanity is made of. They might be millions of years old, but they've never faced humans before. That's their mistake. 18 months had passed since Earth's banishment. The galaxy now faced extinction. The Harvester fleet emerged from the void like a nightmare made real. Thousands of massive ships, each one ancient and deadly. They were perfect geometric shapes, built by the precursors millions of years ago to serve one purpose: eliminate civilizations that the precursors deemed unworthy. Captain Woojin Lee watched them on his sensors from aboard the super dreadnought Incheon. His ship was humanity's newest and most powerful vessel, rushed to completion just for this battle. Around him, the combined fleet of Council and Alliance forces gathered. 700 ships total, looking small and fragile compared to the approaching enemy. All ships report ready, his tactical officer announced. Woojin opened a channel to the entire fleet. This is Captain Woojin Lee, of Earth vessel Incheon. Today we fight for survival. Not just human survival, but the survival of every species in this galaxy. The machines coming toward us don't care about politics or old arguments. They only know destruction, so we put aside everything that divides us. Today, we're all on the same side. The battle began badly. The Harvester ships had weapons that shouldn't exist. Energy beams that ignored shields. Projectiles that adjusted course mid-flight. Defensive systems that adapted to whatever attacked them. Within the first hour, the combined fleet lost 50 ships. The Council forces fell back into defensive formations, using tactics that were thousands of years old. But the Harvesters had seen those tactics before. They knew how to counter them. Admiral Yuna Song watched from the Sol and made a decision. She opened a channel to all human vessels. All Free Fleet ships, break formation. Initiate irregular attack pattern. Delta 7. The human ships scattered, abandoning traditional military formations. They attacked from random angles, using unpredictable timing. They retreated and advanced without pattern. It looked chaotic, but there was method to it. The Harvesters paused, confused. Their programming understood organized warfare. This was something different. While they recalculated, the human ships destroyed 12 Harvester vessels. All Council forces adopt human tactics. Transmitted Overseer Thalarix from his command ship. It hurt his pride to admit humans knew better, but survival mattered more than ego. The combined fleet started fighting differently. More creative. More aggressive. They were still losing ships, but slower now. They were adapting. On the precursor facility beyond the rim, Dr. Soo-young Park worked frantically with Dr. Taeyang Shin, who joined her team. They were searching through millions of years of precursor data, looking for anything that could help. There has to be something, Soo-young muttered, scrolling through alien text. The precursors built these machines. They must have included a way to shut them down. Maybe they did, Taeyang said. But where? And how? Soo-young stopped scrolling. Her eyes went wide. Wait. Look at this. It's not a shutdown code. It's a test. What kind of test? The precursors built the Harvesters to eliminate civilizations they judged unworthy. But there's a protocol here. A way to prove worthiness. If a civilization passes the test, the Harvesters are programmed to stop. Taeyang leaned over her shoulder. What's the test? Soo-young translated quickly. It requires multiple species to work together. Not alliance through domination, but genuine cooperation. The precursors believed worthy civilizations would transcend species boundaries. That they'd see themselves as one galactic community, not separate competing groups. How do we implement this test? There are input nodes on the Harvester command ships. Multiple species have to input their biological signatures simultaneously while transmitting a specific mathematical sequence. It proves that different life forms can work together perfectly. Taeyang immediately sent the information to Admiral Yuna. The message was simple. We found the solution, but it requires perfect cooperation between multiple species. Back at the battle, Commodore Junho Kim received his mission. His ship would be the one to reach the Harvester command vessel. But he couldn't do it alone. He needed representatives from other species. "I need volunteers," Junho transmitted across all channels. "One person from each species. This is a one-way trip. The odds of survival are almost zero. But if we succeed, we save the galaxy." The responses came immediately. A Valoran warrior named Thex volunteered. A Drexian engineer named Valis. A Korath pilot named Mira. Even the proud Keldorians sent someone. Within minutes, Junho had representatives from 15 different species aboard his ship. They were all scared. But they were all committed. "Initiating attack run," Junho announced. His ship accelerated toward the largest Harvester vessel, dodging weapons, fire, and debris. Around him, the entire fleet created a diversion, drawing attention away from his small ship. Ships were dying to give him this chance. Human vessels, council vessels, everyone sacrificing together. Captain Wujin in the Incheon led a desperate charge directly at the Harvester fleet's center. "All ships, on me! Cover Junho's approach." The super dreadnought's weapons blazed, destroying 2 Harvester ships before taking heavy damage. Wujin's crew fought to keep the ship functional as explosions rocked through the decks. Junho's ship reached the command vessel. They boarded it, fighting through automated defenses. The 15 species representatives stayed together, protecting each other. When Thex the Valoran was wounded, Valis the Drexian carried him. When Mira the Korath was trapped behind a sealed door, a human engineer named Jinwoo blasted it open. They reached the control center. It was a massive room with 15 input terminals arranged in a circle. Each representative moved to a terminal. "Everyone ready?" Junho asked. "We do this together. On my mark. 3, 2, 1. Now." All 15 input their biological signatures simultaneously. The mathematical sequence transmitted. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the Harvester fleet stopped. Every ship, every weapon, all at once, they simply froze in space. Throughout the galaxy, every Harvester vessel began broadcasting the same message in every known language. Test parameters met. Multiple species demonstrate unified cooperation. Judgment. Civilization deemed worthy. Harvester protocol terminated. The massive fleet began to power down. The threat was over. In the battle zone, there was silence. Then cheering erupted across all ships. Humans embraced Velorans. Drexians celebrated with Keldorians. Species that had been enemies hours ago now rejoiced together. Admiral Yuna sat in her command chair and allowed herself to cry. They'd lost 200 ships and thousands of lives. But they'd won. More importantly, they'd won by working together. Captain Wujin's damaged ship limped back to friendly lines. His crew was battered and exhausted, but alive. They'd covered Junho's approach, and it had worked. Commodore Junho and his team emerged from the Harvester command ship and were rescued by Alliance vessels. All 15 representatives survived. They'd expected to die, but instead had saved the galaxy. 6 months later, the galaxy gathered for a historic moment. The old Galactic Council officially dissolved itself. In its place, they created something new: the Galactic Community. Every species had equal representation. Leadership rotated between species. Decisions required consensus, not domination. President Daehyun Park addressed the inaugural session. He stood in a chamber that looked very different from the old council halls. Seats were arranged in a circle, not a hierarchy. "1 year ago, you banished Earth," Daehyun said. "You thought we were the problem. You thought removing us would restore order. But you taught us something valuable. You taught us that the old way of doing things was broken." He paused, looking at the representatives from dozens of species. "We didn't conquer this galaxy. We didn't replace your authority with ours. We simply showed everyone that there's another way. A way where no species rules over others. Where cooperation replaces domination. Where diversity is strength, not a problem to manage." Overseer Thalarix no longer holding any special rank, stood to speak. Humanity, we wronged you. We were arrogant. We believed our way was the only way. You proved us wrong by succeeding despite our attempts to limit you. More importantly, when we faced extinction, you came to help us. You didn't seek revenge. You sought salvation for everyone. The galaxy owes you a debt we cannot repay. Ambassador Hana Choi smiled. You owe us nothing. We didn't save the galaxy for gratitude. We did it because it was right. Every species here deserves to exist, to grow, to reach their potential. The Galactic Community Charter was signed by every species present. It established principles of equality, cooperation, and mutual respect. It banned the hierarchies and controlled growth policies that had defined the old council. Fleet Admiral Junho Kim now commanded the Joint Defense Fleet, a unified military force with officers from every species. Captain Sung Ho Nam was his second in command. The fleet's purpose was defense, not conquest. Protection, not domination. Dr. Soo-young Park continued studying precursor facilities with an international team. They were learning from the past to build a better future. On Unity Station, humans worked alongside Valorans, Drexians, Korath, and dozens of other species. Children of different species played together in the station's parks. Artists from various cultures collaborated on new forms of expression. Scientists shared knowledge freely. Governor Minji Kang expanded New Daejeon to welcome immigrants from across the galaxy. The colony became a model for integration, showing that different species could truly live together. Dr. Hyun Baek and Dr. Tae Yang Shin opened their research to the entire galactic community. The gate network they developed became available to everyone, free of charge. No more monopolies. No more control. Captain Woo Jin Lee retired from military service and became an ambassador, traveling the galaxy to share humanity's story with young people of all species. Director Nari Kwan's civilian integration program became the template for the entire community, helping species learn to live together peacefully. On Earth, people looked up at the stars with pride. They'd been banished, dismissed as too troublesome to deal with. But they hadn't accepted that judgment. They'd built their own path, and in doing so, they'd shown the entire galaxy a better way forward. Ambassador Hana Choi stood in her office on Unity Station, looking out at the stars. A young human intern approached her, nervously. Ambassador, I have a question. The intern said, Do you think the council would have banished us if they knew what would happen? That we'd end up changing the entire galaxy? Hana smiled. Probably not. But that's the point. They thought they knew what humanity was capable of. They thought they could predict us, control us, limit us. Their mistake was thinking small. Humans have never been good at accepting limits. So what happens now? The intern asked. Now we build something better. Not a human empire. Not Earth ruling over everyone else. Just a galaxy where every species has the chance to be their best selves, where cooperation replaces competition, where no one gets banished for wanting to be free. She turned back to the window, watching ships from dozens of species moving peacefully through space. They voted to banish us, Hana said quietly. And we didn't wait to be told twice. We left. We built. We thrived. And when they needed us most, we came back. Not as conquerors, but as friends. That's humanity's real strength. Not our weapons or technology. Our refusal to give up on the idea that everyone deserves dignity and freedom. The intern nodded, understanding. Outside, the galaxy continued turning. Billions of beings, living their lives, pursuing their dreams, raising their children. All of them protected by a new system, built on cooperation instead of domination, built on the principle that no species should rule over others. The Galactic Council had voted to banish Earth. Humanity hadn't waited to be told twice. And in leaving, they'd shown the entire galaxy what true freedom looked like. The stars shone brightly, full of promise and possibility. And for the first time in millions of years, the galaxy faced the future, together, as equals.